Has anyone you have ever known, the kind of guy has a really state-of-the-art alarm system in his car, always takes good care of his stuff, and comes up to you and tells you a story of how somebody came into his driveway, broke into his car, and no one heard a peep. Nobody heard a thing. His car is completely emptied out. Took everything he ever worked so hard for to have, and just feels totally raped and disgusted. How does this happen? Well, let me tell you a true story about myself. Years ago, I was a victim of such a thing, and years later, of course, after this kind of thing happening, not that it's new to me. I mean, all of my years of having stereo shops and having fancy flashy cars, I mean, I've had my share of being robbed. But this one here was really bad. And I want to share with you exactly how these idiots go ahead and do it, and how you can avoid from being the same victim that I once was myself. This is how it works. Simple, but it happens. It's unbelievable. So anyway, here's what happened. I had my car. Car was parked out here in my driveway, you know, facing forward. This here is the street. And over here is my garage. And one day, believe it or not, this was actually the very first day of me buying my new dream house in Bayport, New York. I love this house. It was a grand, big Victorian home, and I absolutely adored it. So the first night I came out, walked out of my garage, took a look over here. Everything looked okay, except I found that there was this piece of carpeted wood. Now, this was no actually regular piece of carpeted wood. What this was is my trunk was actually super customized by myself and my installers that worked in my shop. What it was a really cool layout. I had, of course, an in-dash underneath the passenger seat. There was a line driver. There was a signal processors. There was headrest monitors. I had monitors in my trunk lid. I had 412s built into a custom wheel well enclosure. I had custom coffin panels on the sides and the back of my car, auxiliary battery, capacitors, neons, two of the RF, 15 BD series RF 1500.1s. I had the 300.4. I mean, I had just a sick audio system in this car. I love this thing. So when I came out and I seen this piece of wood, I says, I don't remember putting that there. What it was the perforated cover for the bottom of the enclosure, because when you open the trunk, everything had covers, custom covers that covered all the equipment. And I says, that's funny, I don't remember leaving that out there. So I hauled the trash out to the street and I came back, and as I looked again at the car coming back, I started to notice some weird things going on. Like my headrest missing, like some wires thrown across the seats, and I says, oh shit, here we go. So I go into the car. I didn't go into the car. I went to the garage, got my keys, opened the car, went up to it, noticed my radio's missing, headrest gone, line driver under the thing's missing, signal processor gone, amplifier gone, 1, 2, 3, 4, subwoofer's gone, battery gone, crossover's gone, custom panels gone, lighting gone, all my other personal effects just gone, just thrown about. I felt terrible. So how does this happen? How does this happen? Especially to a guy like me, a guy who specializes in doing car audio and alarms. How does this happen to me? This is how stupid it really is. And my neighbors actually told me what these idiots look like. It was a couple of these monkey-looking dudes that lived way down in the bad section. They came by in the middle of the night and did this kind of thing. What happened is they do two things. They had a crowbar. They knew. It's like they knew. I had a Mitsubishi Galant. They had the crowbar, and they knew that the battery was located right here. So what did they do? Crowbar exactly right here, lifted it up and gave them access to my top post, to my battery. So all they do is just take a big oversized cutter, cut that, sever it, there goes my power. So now my whole alarm system is completely defeated. But just to save grace, here's what they also do. They use these things that kind of like when you get an enema. I'll use those. I don't know if you get a lot of enemas. When I was young, I had, all our parents had them. What an enema bag looks like is kind of like a balloon, has like a little nipple, like a little deal there, and it's just a bag. And basically what it is they would take this, insert it into the door, right here, inflate it, And what that does is it airbags the door. So that way, inside the door jamb where my pin switch is, this would be covering it. So when they inflate this, it puts pressure on the pin switch. So when one guy is inflating this, the other jerk breaks open the door latch, opens it up and holds pressure on the pin switch. So this one guy can sit there and hold the pin switch while the other guy is ransacking, taking everything and means anything to you. So that's this double header. That's how they did it to my car. And subsequently, I'm going to make a video. I'm going to explain to you how you can protect yourself so that way you don't have to sing the same song that I'm singing to you right now. Because it's not a happy song. Now, I certainly hope to God that this never happens to any one of you, but the chances are that it's going to happen. It just this is what these jerks do. Now, here's what happened. A year to the day later, this almost exact same situation happened in my driveway. The car was parked in the same spot. It was about the same time. Literally almost the same exact thing. All the circumstances were exactly the same. And I know it was because it was Super Bowl Sunday. Same thing happened. Cars here, driveways here, roads here. It's all the same. But this time, I had some secrets up my sleeve for these jerks. And of course I found, what do you expect? All these cowardly footprints in the snow. 3 of them, so they had a little gang going. There's all these footprints, these little weasels trying to make off with a free meal at my expense. This time, here's what I have done in my car, what I suggest that you might do in yourself. You don't have to be as insane as I am, but maybe some of these ideas and insights that work for me might work for you. Hopefully you have a car alarm in your car, or a real aftermarket alarm system. A two-way is preferable. In my car, what I did is I chose to do 2 things. I chose to use it's an Omega part, it's an AU94TM. What it is, it's a dual zone proximity sensor or a radar sensor. So what happens is, it throws out sine waves, kind of like that. So when you walk near it, it has 2 zones. One which is a one-away zone, so that way when you walk away it'll go beep, 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 and then if you stick your hand in the window, which is a second adjustable zone, it would be an instant trigger and the alarm will go berserk. Dome lights blink, siren goes off, horn honks, you know, the whole alarm crazy thing. So my idea was this. When you walk and you get this close to my car, that's where I wanted to know it. My window, unfortunately, was upstairs, way back in my house. I didn't hear it, and I'm a sound sleeper. When I'm sleeping, I'm gone. So here's what I did. I took my radar sensor, and I had my alarm system. This here is the alarm. This here is the sensor. And I also added a set of strobe lights to my car. 60 watt strobe lights. So I got 60, 120, 180, 240 watts of strobe lights. It's a lot of power. It's a cop car on wheels right there. So when my sensor triggers, it would send the signal into a 528T, which is what I used then, which is called a pulse timer relay. So when this gets a one-away trigger zone, it's going to send a negative signal out, and that would activate my pulse timer. From here, I would set it to about 6 seconds. I didn't want to get too crazy and have the lights going on because they're super bright. My neighbors wouldn't have liked it, too much. So this goes in with a low trigger, a low signal ground input. I have it hold for 6 seconds, and then this would go to the alarm, so the alarm would do the beep, 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 and Omega systems by default roll up windows, and I had a window roll up module in there, so that was working for me. Plus, this was sending a 6-second pulse to a strobe light kit, which was making my lights go crazy. So, visually and audibly, I was protecting myself prior to something getting in there, because it was my thought process that it's better to be proactive than to be reactive once the damage has already occurred. Which is kind of like why most regular alarms are just kind of useless, because if someone goes up and takes a hammer, or whatever the heck these guys are using these days and hits your car, it's too late. You already got hit with a hammer. What does you even want the car for anymore? It's ugly, it's beaten to death, and now you got a nightmare to deal with. So my idea was, let's catch these jerks before they get to this point. And this was working really well. Really well. But here's what happened. Believe it or not, a month later, now we have part 3 of the situation, and here comes that piece now. So now here we are, believe it or not, like I was saying, part 3 of this trilogy. Now they're back again. Same thing, Same car. These guys were really crafty. I don't know how they got to the car. They got beyond my radar sensor. I don't know if they were crawling on the floor or what the heck they do. I can only presume that they did, because I have heard the thing go one way, chirp, not just when it rains and falls, but other times when I just felt like it was weird, late at night, chirping, nothing around, that kind of thing. What did they do? They actually got into the car, took a drill. Took a drill, okay? Drilled a hole in the side of my car, let all my battery acid go onto the floor, came back, then they opened up the door. As soon as they opened up the door, my alarm went off and they ran away. My saving grace was this. Not only did I have everything that I showed you, all the electronics, to be proactive, but now I had something that was reactive. At this point, when you open up the door, it's not proactive anymore. It's called reactive. They open up the door, the alarm goes psycho, I'm going psycho, my wife's going psycho, the dog's going psycho, everything's going psycho. They didn't know that at this point, I said, the hell with you. I have my battery here. I got another battery back here waiting for you. With this, which is a solenoid, which I'm going to explain to you how you can use. Solenoid, all it is, when you cut the switch on, it's a little relay. And the alternator charges this battery and this battery, but it isolates one from the other. So if they cut this battery, this one here is still A-OK. That's how it works. So my alternator is putting power into my solenoid, and it's charging in one direction, only to my auxiliary battery. And this battery is also charging my audio system, which is another French benefit of having the solenoid. So they did all they could do, thinking rationally, that they've done the best they could do by removing all the energy from my car. Once the power source is gone, I'm defeated, and they're going to get me. This is what I had to do to protect myself and my car. And no, I didn't live in the ghetto. No, I didn't live, in Harlem, New York. No, I lived in Bayport, New York. This is probably one of the most prominent upscale neighborhoods that there probably is in the South Shore of Long Island. It was a really nice place to live. But unfortunately, where the idiots go, they go to the nice neighborhoods. They don't stay in their own because nobody there has any goddamn thing worth stealing. But when and if you have any kind of problem, if you have a situation and you're worried about your car and you have these kinds of recurring problems, or if you fear that you might have to deal with the situation, let me tell you what to do. Get yourself a solenoid. Let me just clear this whole board because I'm getting really messy here. Let me just show you the theory of how this whole thing works. Okay, you have your regular battery, then this here is my auxiliary battery. It doesn't really matter what kind of battery it is. It could be a lead acid battery. It could be, I personally was using an Optima Yellow Top to bat the motorcycle. So this right here is my primary car's battery, regular car battery. It's my regular stock battery. Right, stock there. And this one here is my auxiliary battery, like I was trying to say before the camera had cut off. This was an Optima, it's a yellow type. It wasn't the six-pack standard Optima yellow type. It was the skinnier one, because in my scenario I only had enough room behind my back seat and where my amp rack was, so I didn't have a whole lot of space there. But I didn't want to have anything that could possibly leak or have acid or have any kind of adverse thing happen, because I have kids, car seats, and whatever. I'm a little crazy with that. So it worked out really well for me. They do make them. They're really neat. They look like this. They're kind of like 3 circles put together like a snowman. And they charge up and they store a ton of energy. Nice little yellow top. So this here is my yellow top. And all it was this one here, which is this one here is a Scotch 100 amp, but I think I was using a 200 amp battery isolator. And what a battery isolator does is when you turn your key on, you have the 2 lugs. These are the 2 big lugs, and you're going to have the 2 smaller connectors, which are for the relay. So the way it works is this. When your alternator is spinning, it's going to send on a single output alternator wire. This is not for scenarios where you have dual alternate or an alternator with dual outputs and you have two batteries, an auxiliary battery and all that. Normal car with one output. You're going to have two wires here. One goes to ground and the other one goes to a key switch to ignition. Just the ignition wire. Doesn't really matter what it is. As long as it's a keyed ignition wire, that's going to click this coil of the relay. Ground is going to be there, so of course it's going to click and connect this to this. So when the alternator is throwing out positive current to charge my battery, it's going in here. It's only going in one way. To this lug, this battery is going in this direction to this one. So when they cut my regular battery power right here, that's not there no more. It's gone. Once they cut it, they figured they had it and they had a home run. In a normal scenario, my car will be defeated and everything is it's open season to do whatever you got to do. But since I had this isolator, this is where all my stuff was running to. My alarm, my amps, all my accessories, lights, strobe lights, sensors, backup batteries, everything was connected here. So that's really the trick. These days, these guys are crafty. They come up with all kinds of ideas, like I was saying about the airbags, how they're sneaky when they come up, and the hours, and the tricks, and the tools, and how creative these guys are just to get this stuff, how evil these guys are. It's crazy. But this is what I had to actually do, and this is what kept me sane for many years after the fact. And unfortunately, I have to tell this story because it's hard to believe that stories like this actually do exist. I know that I'm not the only one. And I hope to God that it's not you. I hope you're not the next story. It's not. You don't want to be me. You don't want to have to say the story. But if I can give you any words of wisdom from my experience, that's the best way to learn. It's always better. You can always pay full price and learn these lessons on your own, or you can borrow it from someone like me who's already experienced all these problems and trauma. This is what I've done. This is what works. So that's my tip for today for car security. This is what I do, and I hope you do the same should you need to do something like this.